My name is Robert, and I'm 68 years old. I've lived in a small Wisconsin town my whole life, fixing cars for folks who trusted me to keep their engines running smooth. I'm a widower now, been alone since my Ellen passed 5 years ago. Every penny I've saved came from long hours in my garage, covered in grease, making sure families could get to work or school. I'm not rich, but I've got enough to live quietly, maybe take a fishing trip now and then. That's all I ever wanted. So when my son Ethan and his wife Sophia sat at my kitchen table sliding a stack of mortgage papers toward me, my heart sank like a stone in Lake Michigan. It was a Tuesday morning, the kind where the coffee's still, steaming, and the world feels calm. Ethan, 33, my only boy, looked me dead in the eye and said, "Dad, you've got plenty saved up. It's time you helped us out." The papers in front of me? A $350,000 mortgage for a house with a pool, a home, gym, the works. Sophia, 32, barely looked up from her phone, swiping through pictures of chandeliers and hardwood floors. "This place is perfect, babe," she said to Ethan, her voice sharp and excited. 4 bedrooms, a deck for parties. It's our dream. Home. I set my mug down, slow and deliberate, trying to keep my voice steady. "What exactly are you asking me to do, son?" Ethan tapped the papers, his finger jabbing like he was making a point. "Sign, Dad. Your credit's solid. We get the house. Everybody wins." The nerve of it hit me hard, like a wrench slipping and busting your knuckles. I raised this boy, taught him how to change a tire, how to save $1, how to work for what you want. Now here he was, in the same kitchen where we'd eaten pancakes, on Sundays, asking me to risk everything I'd built. "You're 68, Dad," Ethan said, his eyes sliding away from mine. "What do you need all that money for?" Sophia chimed in, her smile tight, like she was selling me something. "Family helps family, Robert. That's what parents do. They set their kids up for the future." I flipped through the mortgage. Papers, my hand steady but my mind racing. Their combined income was listed clear as day. $78,000 a year. Decent money for a young couple. But this house? The monthly payment would be $3,600. I looked up, my voice calm but firm. "You make enough for a good home, Ethan, just not this one. Who approved a loan like this?" Ethan's jaw tightened, and Sophia's phone hit the table with a clatter. "Don't get hung up on details, Dad," Ethan snapped. "Details matter," I shot back. "I'm not signing." The room went quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like a storm's coming. Sophia stood, her chair scraping the floor. "Excuse me?" she said, her voice high and brittle. "You're choosing money over your son's happiness?" Ethan leaned forward, his voice low. "You owe us this, Dad." Those words cut deeper than I'd ever admit. They stormed out, the door slamming so hard my windows rattled. I sat there, staring at my cold coffee, feeling the weight of what just happened. My boy, the one I'd raised to be better, saw me as nothing but a checkbook. And Sophia, her parting words echoed in my head. "Don't expect us to keep acting like family if you don't care about our future." What happened next? You won't believe it. If this story's hitting home, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know where you're listening from in the comments. The days after Ethan and Sophia stormed out of my kitchen felt heavy, like the air before a Wisconsin thunderstorm. I kept replaying Ethan's words. "You owe us this, Dad," and Sophia's sharp glare, like I'd betrayed them by saying no. I'm Robert, 68 years old, a man who spent decades fixing cars, saving every dime for a quiet retirement. I thought I'd raised my son to value hard work. but now he was acting like my savings were his birthright. I wanted to believe it was a one-time outburst, that Ethan would come around, maybe even apologize. But deep down, I knew better. This wasn't over. It started with the phone calls. The first one came that same night, Ethan's name flashing on my screen. I let it go to voicemail, hoping to cool things down. His voice was tight, almost desperate. "Dad, we're losing the house if you don't sign. The deposit's $20,000. Gone. Because of you." I stared at the phone, my chest tightening. Then, Sophia's voice came through in the background, sharp as a blade. "Tell him we need an answer by tomorrow, Ethan." Another voicemail followed an hour later. "Dad, Sophia's a wreck. She's barely eating over this. Don't you care?" By morning, the texts started pouring in. Ethan's messages were a mix of guilt and anger. "You always said family comes first, Dad. Where's that now?" Sophia's were worse, dripping with fake hurt. "I thought you loved Ethan, Robert. This house is for our kids, your grandkids." Grandkids? They didn't even have kids yet. Then came the bombshell. A text from Sophia. "I'm under so much stress, Robert. My doctor says it's affecting my health. Is this what you want for us?" I felt my blood boil. Was she hinting at something serious, or was this just another ploy? I called Ethan back, keeping my voice steady. "Sophia's health, Ethan. What's going on?" There was a long pause, then his voice, shaky. "It's stress, Dad. She's not herself." I pressed him. "Is she sick, or is this about the house?" Silence. Then Sophia grabbed the phone. "Robert, I can't believe you're questioning me. I'm falling apart and you're acting like it's nothing." I hung up, my hands trembling. Not from fear, but from anger. They were playing me, and I wasn't going to fall for it. That's when I started documenting everything. I screenshot every text, saved every voicemail, and jotted down their words in a notebook I kept in my desk drawer. I wasn't just some old man they could bully. I'd fixed problems my whole life. Carburetors, transmissions, you name it. And this was just another problem to solve. I flipped through their social media, something I rarely did. There it was, plain as day, a photo of Ethan grinning with a $3,000 set of golf clubs, posted 2 weeks ago. Another of Sophia at a fancy spa, captioned, "Treating myself." Yet they couldn't pay their rent? The real gut punch came when my community started turning on me. I stopped by Joe's coffee shop, where I've been a regular for 20 years. Jenny, the barista who always asked about Ethan, barely looked at me. "Heard you're not helping your son with his house," she said, her voice cold. I froze. "Who told you that?" She shrugged. "Sophia was in here crying. Said you're sitting on a fortune but won't help family." I left without my coffee, feeling eyes on my back. At the bowling alley, my buddy Tom, who'd known Ethan since he was a kid, gave me a hard look. "Didn't think you were that kind of dad, Robert." Ethan and Sophia weren't just pressuring me, they were spreading lies. They'd called my sister Linda, sobbing about how I'd abandoned them. They told my neighbor, Mrs. Larson, I was hoarding money while they struggled. The whispers followed me everywhere, the grocery store, the hardware shop, even church. I felt like I was losing my place in the town I'd called home for decades. Then came the text that changed everything. Ethan, late at night. "Dad, if you don't sign, we'll have to sue you. You promised to help us buy a house and we trusted you." Promised? I'd never promised a dime. My jaw clenched as I typed back, "Show me when I promised that, son." No reply. Instead, Sophia texted from her phone. "You'll regret this, Robert. We're done playing nice." I sat in my quiet house, the weight of their words settling like dust. Ethan wasn't the boy who used to help me polish hubcaps in the garage anymore. He was a stranger, and Sophia was pulling the strings. But I wasn't going to let them break me. I opened my notebook, added their latest threats, and made a decision. If they wanted a fight, I'd give them one they'd never forget. If this story's getting under your skin, hit that like button and subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you've ever dealt with family pulling something like this. Stick around. You won't believe what's coming next. Sitting in my quiet Wisconsin home, I felt the walls closing in. Ethan and Sophia's threats hung over me like a storm cloud. Their words, "We'll sue you, Dad," echoing in my head. I'm Robert, 68 years old, a retired auto mechanic who spent a lifetime fixing other people's problems. Now my own son and his wife were trying to break me, painting me as a heartless old man who wouldn't help family. But I wasn't going to roll over. If Ethan and Sophia thought they could bully me into signing away my retirement, they were about to learn I wasn't just some pushover with a wrench. I'd spent decades solving problems methodically, and this was no different. It was time to get to work. I started by digging into their financial mess. I'd seen enough of their social media to know something wasn't right. $3,000 golf clubs, spa days, fancy dinners, all while they claimed they couldn't afford rent. I opened my laptop, something I don't do often, and scrolled through Ethan's Instagram. There he was, posing in Cancun last month, sipping cocktails by a resort pool. The caption read, "Living the Dream." Sophia's posts were worse. Designer handbags, a $1,500 dress for a charity gala they attended, even a photo of their new Audi parked in front of a steakhouse. I screenshot every post, my hands steady, but my heart racing. How could they live like this and expect me to foot the bill for a $350,000 house? Next, I called First Community Bank, where Ethan had mentioned applying for the mortgage. "Hi, this is Robert Miller," I said, keeping my voice calm. "My son Ethan applied for a home loan with you. As a potential co-signer, I need to know the terms." The loan officer, Karen, was polite but blunt. "Mr. Miller, your son and daughter-in-law are nice folks, but this loan's a stretch. Their debt-to-income ratio is concerning." She paused, papers rustling. "They've got $55,000 in credit card debt, plus a car lease and some medical bills. Their monthly obligations are already 40% of their income before adding a $3,600 mortgage payment." I wrote down every word, my pen scratching the page. $55,000 in credit card debt. And they called me selfish? I kept digging. I called their apartment complex, pretending to be a concerned dad. "Hi, I'm Robert Miller. My son Ethan's in Unit 312. I'm thinking of helping with his rent, but I need to know his payment history." The manager didn't hesitate. "They've been late 5 times this year, Mr. Miller. Currently 4 months behind, but we're working with them." 4 months behind on rent, yet they'd just blown thousands in Cancun. I added that to my notebook, my blood boiling. I knew I needed help to fight this, so I called Michael Bennett, a lawyer who'd helped me with my will after Ellen passed. Michael listened as I laid out the situation. Ethan's demands, Sophia's threats, the lies they were spreading. "Robert," he said, his voice steady, "you're doing the right thing by saying no. But you need to protect yourself. Wisconsin's a one-party consent state for recording. Start taping every call with them, legally. Document every text, every conversation. If they sue, you'll need proof they're manipulating you. I set up a recording app on my phone that afternoon, testing it to make sure it worked. The calls kept coming, each one nastier than the last. Ethan's voice was desperate now. "Dad, we're out of options. The bank needs your signature by Friday, or we lose the deposit. $20,000 gone. You okay with that?" Sophia jumped in on one call, her tone switching from fake tears to venom. "Robert, I can't believe you're doing this to us. Ethan's your only son. You're breaking his heart." I hit record every time, saving their words like bolts in a toolbox. One call caught Sophia slipping. "We just need your signature, Robert," she said, her voice sharp. "Once we're in the house, we'll figure out the payments." Figure out the payments? With what money? Their social media campaign was the worst part. Sophia posted a long, tear-jerking rant on Facebook, calling me a selfish father who refused to help his struggling young family. She didn't mention the Audi or the Cancun trip, of course. Comments poured in from people I'd known for years. "How could you do this, Robert?" wrote Mrs. Carter, my old neighbor. "Money over family? Shameful," posted a guy from my bowling league. I felt the town turning against me, the whispers following me to the grocery store, the coffee shop, even church. My sister Linda called, her voice soft but confused. "Robert, Ethan says you're sitting on a fortune but won't help. That doesn't sound like you." I told her the truth. $350,000 mortgage, $55,000 in debt, their reckless spending. But I could tell she wasn't sure who to believe. Then came a text from Ethan that pushed me over the edge. "Dad, we're talking to a lawyer. You promised to help us buy a house. We trusted you." Promised. I'd never said a word about paying for their house. My hands shook as I screenshot the message, adding it to my growing file. Another text from Sophia followed. "You're forcing our hand, Robert. Don't expect us to keep you in our lives if you keep this up." I stared at my phone, the words blurring. This wasn't just about money anymore. They were trying to erase me from their lives unless I gave in. I sat in my garage that night, surrounded by tools I'd used for 40 years, each one a reminder of the honest work I'd done to build my life. Ethan used to sit on a stool right here, watching me fix engines, asking questions, his eyes bright with curiosity. That boy was gone, replaced by a man I didn't recognize, led by a woman who saw me as nothing but a means to an end. But I wasn't done fighting. I opened my notebook, added their latest threats, and made a promise to myself. If Ethan and Sophia wanted a war, I'd show them I knew how to fight back, my way, with facts, not lies. If this story's hitting close to home, hit that like button and subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever faced pressure like this from family? Stay with me, because what happened next will blow your mind. The morning of the trial felt like the quiet before a Wisconsin blizzard. I'm Robert, 68 years old, a retired auto mechanic who spent a lifetime fixing problems with my hands and my head. But this was a problem I never thought I'd face. My son Ethan and his wife Sophia were suing me for $350,000, claiming I'd promised to help them buy a house and then backed out, leaving them in financial and emotional ruin. They even had the gall to say I was losing my mind, that age was making me forget promises I'd never made. I sat in my kitchen, sipping cold coffee, staring at the certified letter that had arrived a week ago. The words, breach of promise, and cognitive decline burned into my brain. But I wasn't afraid. I was ready. I'd spent weeks building my case with Michael Bennett, my lawyer, a steady man who'd seen his share of family disputes. My notebook was bursting with evidence, screenshots of Ethan and Sophia's lavish spending, recordings of their manipulative calls, bank records showing their $55,000 credit card debt, and a statement from their apartment manager about 4 months of unpaid rent. I'd even tracked down a friend Ethan had borrowed money from, spinning the same sob story he'd used on me. Every lie, every threat, every post on Sophia's Facebook calling me a selfish father was documented, labeled, and ready. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd show them I could play smart. The courthouse in our small Wisconsin town was old, with creaky wooden benches and a faint smell of polish. I wore my best suit, the one I'd worn to Ethan's high school graduation, and arrived early. Ethan and Sophia were already there, standing by the metal detectors with their lawyer, Gregory Walsh. He was a slick type, mid-40s, with a tailored suit and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Ethan looked nervous, his tie slightly crooked, while Sophia wore a black dress that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. They didn't look at me, but I could feel their confidence, like they thought they'd already won. Judge Ellen Carter called the room to order, her voice sharp and no nonsense. She was in her late 50s, known around town for cutting through nonsense, like a hot knife through butter. Walsh stood first, his tone smooth as he painted a picture of Ethan and Sophia as a hard-working young couple betrayed by a father's broken promises. "Your Honor," he said. Mr. Miller repeatedly assured. "My clients, he'd support their dream of home ownership. He encouraged them to find their perfect house, then cruelly withdrew his support, costing them a $20,000 deposit and their future stability." Ethan took the stand, his voice shaky but rehearsed. He claimed I'd promised to help buy their house. At family dinners, during Christmas toasts, even on his birthday last year. "Dad said family takes care of family," he told the judge, his eyes darting away from mine. "He told us to dream big, that he had the money to make it happen." It was all lies, and I could see Judge Carter's pen pausing as Ethan stumbled. Over details like when exactly I'd made these so-called promises. Sophia was worse. She sobbed on cue, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. "Robert told us our happiness was his priority," she said, her voice breaking. "He said he had more money than he'd ever need. We trusted him, and now we've lost everything." But then Walsh dropped a bomb. He slid a document across the table labeled Letter of Financial Support with my signature at the bottom. "This proves Mr. Miller's commitment," he said, smirking. My stomach dropped. I'd never seen that paper in my life. My hands clenched under the table, but I kept my face still. Something was very wrong. Michael Bennett stood, calm as a summer lake. "Your Honor, my client has a comprehensive response, backed by evidence." I took the stand, my voice steady, no theatrics, just the truth. I told the court how Ethan and Sophia demanded I co-sign a $350,000 mortgage they couldn't afford, how they'd racked up $55,000 in credit card debt while taking trips to Cancun and buying designer clothes. Michael presented our evidence like a mechanic laying out tools, screenshots of their Instagram posts flaunting an Audi and $7,000 vacations, bank records showing their reckless spending, recordings of their calls where Sophia admitted they just needed my signature to get the house. The courtroom went quiet when Michael played a recording of Ethan saying, "Dad, we thought you'd just sign. Most old folks don't want the hassle of a fight." Judge Carter's eyes narrowed, and Walsh's objections started sounding desperate. Then Michael addressed the document with my so-called signature. "Your Honor, my client has never seen this paper. We've had it analyzed by a handwriting expert who confirms the signature was forged, copied from a 2018 insurance form Mr. Miller signed for his late wife's medical bills. The room felt electric, like the moment before a spark plug fires. Judge Carter leaned forward, her voice cold. "Mr. Walsh, are you telling me your client submitted a forged document to this court?" Walsh stammered, his slick confidence crumbling. "Your Honor, we relied on our client's representations." Sophia's face went white, and Ethan stared at the floor, his hands shaking. Michael pressed on, showing the original insurance form next to the forged letter. The signatures were identical, but the expert's report highlighted telltale signs of copying, slight tremors in the lines, unnatural overlaps. Sophia had forged it, thinking I wouldn't notice. Judge Carter's expression was like stone. "Mr. Walsh, I want an explanation for this document, now." Walsh tried to pivot, claiming it was a misunderstanding, but the judge cut him off. "Enough. I've seen the evidence. The plaintiffs have provided no credible proof of any promise, only a pattern of manipulation, and now apparently fraud." She turned to Ethan and Sophia. "You've wasted this court's time and attempted to deceive it with a forged document. This is not just a frivolous lawsuit, it's an outrage." The gavel came down, and the ruling was swift. The plaintiff's case is dismissed with prejudice. The defendant's counterclaims for defamation, harassment, and abuse of process are granted. Mr. Miller is awarded $22,000 in legal fees, $12,000 for emotional distress, and court costs. Furthermore, this court is referring Ms. Sophia Miller to the district attorney for investigation of document forgery and potential perjury. Sophia let out a sob, real this time, her hands covering her face. Ethan looked like he'd been hit by a truck, his eyes wide, unblinking. Judge Carter wasn't done. A restraining order is issued, prohibiting the plaintiffs from contacting Mr. Miller directly, approaching his home, or making further public statements about this matter. You've disgraced yourselves in this courtroom. I sat there, my heart steady, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. The truth had won, just like I'd hoped. But as I looked at Ethan, my boy, crumpled in his seat, I didn't feel victory, just a deep, tired sadness. Sophia's forgery had sealed their fate, but it was their greed that brought us here. If this twist has you reeling, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment. Have you ever seen family go this far for money? Stick around, because the fallout from this day changed everything. The courthouse doors swung shut behind me, and the Wisconsin air felt cleaner, sharper, like the first breath after a long dive underwater. I'm Robert, 68 years old, a retired auto mechanic who'd just walked out of a courtroom where my own son Ethan and his wife Sophia tried to take everything I'd worked for. Their lawsuit for $350,000, built on lies and a forged signature, had crashed and burned. The judge's words, frivolous, fraudulent, disgrace, still echoed in my mind. But as I stepped into the sunlight, I didn't feel like celebrating. I felt empty. The boy I'd raised, the one who used to hand me wrenches in my garage, was gone, and yet somehow I was free. Word of the trial spread through our small town faster than a summer wildfire. By the time I got to Joe's coffee shop that afternoon, Jenny, the barista who'd given me the cold shoulder, was waiting with a fresh cup. "Robert, I'm so sorry," she said, her eyes soft. "Sophia came in here crying, saying you abandoned them. But I saw Ethan's Instagram. Cancun, that fancy car. It didn't add up." I showed her a few screenshots, the ones with their $7,000 vacation and $55,000 credit card debt. Her jaw dropped. They played us all. At the bowling alley, my buddy Tom clapped me on the shoulder. "You did right, Robert. I feel like a fool for believing their sob story." Even Mrs. Larson, my neighbor, stopped by with a plate of cookies and an apology. I saw Sophia's Facebook posts, calling you selfish. I should have known better. I didn't gloat. I just nodded and said, "People were lied to. I get it." The truth has a way of shining through, and it was turning my community back to me, warmer than ever. Ethan and Sophia's world fell apart fast. Their dream house went into foreclosure within a week, the red "for sale" sign a stark reminder of their failed gamble. The Audi was repossessed, and whispers around town said they'd moved to Iowa, crashing with Sophia's parents, their reputations in tatters. Sophia's forgery charge hung over them like a dark cloud, with the district attorney building a case that could mean probation or worse. Ethan lost his job at the tech firm. His boss didn't take kindly to the publicity of a perjury investigation. Their social media vanished, probably to dodge the flood of comments calling out their lies. I didn't feel a lick of guilt. Every consequence they faced was one they'd earned, built on choices they made. Back in my garage, I spent my days tinkering with an old Chevy, polishing it until it gleamed like new. It felt like a metaphor, fixing what's broken, letting go of what's rusted beyond repair. Ethan was like that rust, eating away at my peace until I cut him loose. It hurt, but it was necessary. I started speaking at our church's senior group, sharing my story to warn others about financial manipulation. "Set boundaries," I told them. "Love your family, but don't let them mistake your savings for their entitlement." The local paper ran a piece on my case, calling it a lesson in standing up to greed. What I learned through all this? Truth wins, but only if you fight for it. Family loyalty isn't owed. It's earned through respect, not demands. And saying no to manipulation isn't cruel. It's protecting what you've built with your own two hands. As I worked on that, Chevy under the golden afternoon light, I felt lighter than I had in years. My life was mine again, filled with honest work, good neighbors, and the peace of knowing I'd done right. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe. Share in the comments. Have you ever had to draw a line with family? Thanks for listening, and let's keep standing for what's right.